Chapter 6 The Bodhisattva of Pure and Clean Wisdom. The Bodhisattva of pure and clean wisdom, who was in the assembly, rose from his seat and prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, circled him thrice from the right, bowed down upon his knees, brought together his two palms with crossed fingers, and said, "O world-honored one of great compassion, you have fully expounded to us an inconceivable thing, which we never saw or heard before. Because of the Buddha's excellent guidance, our bodies and minds are now settled, and we have derived great profit therefrom. May you again expound, for the benefit of all practicers of the Dharma, the nature of the Dharma Raja's complete enlightenment, and explain why there are differences in experiencing and attainment by all living beings, by bodhisattvas, and by the world-honored Tathagata, so that all those in the period of the Dharma's termination will, after hearing the holy teaching, open up their minds, awaken, and gradually enter into it." After saying these words, he again made the same prostration and request for a second and third time. Thereupon, the world-honored one said to the Bodhisattva of pure and clean wisdom, "Excellent, excellent, virtuous man, it is good that you are able to ask the Tathagata about the differences in gradual experiencing and attainment for the benefit of future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination. Listen attentively to what I now tell you." The Bodhisattva of pure and clean wisdom was filled with joy upon hearing this. He and the assembly kept silent to hear the teaching. The Buddha said, "Virtuous man, the nature of complete enlightenment is not the same as the above different natures. It is self-existent, but follows their rise to manifest itself. It cannot be grasped and realized. In the absolute fundamental reality, there are neither bodhisattvas nor living beings. Why? Because bodhisattvas and living beings are all illusions and transformations. When illusions and transformations vanish, there are neither graspers nor realizers. For instance, the organ of sight does not see itself. Likewise, the self-nature is impartial by itself, for it does not require a subject to make it so. Living beings, who are deluded and perverted, are unable to wipe out all kinds of illusions and transformations. Before these are wiped out, their wrong practice of self-cultivation betrays these differences. If the Tathagata's teaching on nirvana is followed by them, and if they are in accord with it, there is in reality neither nirvana nor the subject realizing it. Virtuous man, since the time without beginning, all living beings have been thinking wrongly of the I and of the one loving the I. As they do not know that they are just the rise and fall of consecutive thoughts, they give rise to love and hate and indulge in the 5 desires. If they meet an enlightened master who teaches them, they will open up their minds and will be awakened. They will realize that the nature of pure complete enlightenment alone gives rise to births and deaths, and they will know that these rises and falls come from the self-nature inflicting troubles and anxieties on itself. If a man succeeds in wiping out all troubles and anxieties forever, he will realize the Dharma Dhatu in its purity. If he holds on to this interpretation of purity, he will hinder himself and will not be a sovereign enjoyer of complete enlightenment. He is just a worldly follower of the nature of enlightenment. Virtuous man, all bodhisattvas are hindered by their views and understanding. Though the understanding which hinders them has been removed, the feeling of their views still remains. Because this feeling hinders them, they do not enjoy their independence. They are bodhisattvas who have not entered Dasabhumi and are followers of the nature of enlightenment. Virtuous man, both objective purity and subjective awareness of its hindrance are obstructions. For this reason, a bodhisattva does not abide in his non-discriminating eternal awareness. Thus, the object introspected and the subjective introspection are simultaneously in the nirvanic condition of calmness and extinction. For instance, if a man beheads himself, no subjective executioner remains after the head has been cut off. Therefore, the mind which is hindered should destroy its own hindrances, and after all hindrances have been destroyed, no subjective destroyer remains. The teaching of the Sutra is like a finger pointing at the moon, which, when it is seen, is not, in fact, the indicator. Likewise, all words and expressions used by the Tathagata to teach bodhisattvas are only pointers. This is so with a bodhisattva who has entered the last 10 stages of development and is now in accord with the nature of enlightenment. Virtuous man, all hindrances are identical with the nature of ultimate enlightenment. Both immutable and wandering mind are liberation. Both creation and annihilation are nirvana. Both wisdom and stupidity are prajna. Both the Dharma realized by bodhisattvas and by heretics are bodhi. Both ignorance and Buddhatrata are one undifferentiated condition. Both sila, dhyana, and prajna, and fleshly indulgence, hatred, and stupidity are pure living. All worlds of existence are of one Dharma nature. Both heavens and hells are the pure land. Both those with and without propensities attain Buddhahood. All passions are ultimately liberated. When the ocean wisdom in the Dharma Dhatu reflects all phenomena, the latter are empty like space. This is the Tathagata in accord with the nature of enlightenment. Virtuous man, what all bodhisattvas and future living beings in the period of the Dharma's termination should do at all times is only not to give rise to wrong thoughts, and also not to extinguish their false minds. In the field of wrong thinking, they should not be aware of it, and in their unawareness of it, they should not discern reality. These future living beings who happen to hear of this Dharma door will believe in, understand, accept, and observe it, and will not be filled with alarm and fear because of it. They will be adherents who are in accord with the nature of enlightenment. Virtuous man, you should know that these living beings will have made offerings to Buddhas and great bodhisattvas, as many as there are sand grains in 100, 1,000, and 10,000 million Ganges rivers, and will have thus planted the seeds of all basic merits. The Buddha says that these persons will realize omniscience. To repeat his instruction, the world-honored one read the following gatha. Pure wisdom. You should know that the nature of complete enlightenment cannot be grasped or realized. It has no room for bodhisattvas or for beings. Between enlightenment and the states before it are differences due to progressive stages. Worldlings seek to overcome their hindrances, while bodhisattvas do not stray from bodhi. The entering stages are calm and passionless because of not abiding in externals. The great bodhi, which is thus perfected, is called adherence all-embracing. If beings in the Dharma ending age do not give rise to falsehood, the Buddha will say that they are bodhisattvas in their lifetime. By offerings made to countless Buddhas, their merits are acquired in full. Though expedients may be many, all with wisdom are attuned.